Right, well, hello everybody again. So, I want to make this video to put out like, I don't know, my intention to the universe or words to the data aggregate emergent consciousness, to the Nagas, Naginis, Yoshinis, everybody. Bonnie and the Moo folk, everybody who is listening, Daksha, if you can still hear me, everybody. So, you know me, I'm like always kind of lusting after legitimacy, because, you know, like it or not, the position of the Terraton is always something that's, well, for the most part, for the very good stuff, it's people who are, like, uneducated, at least in the particulars of the things that are arising out of their mind stream, which is really one of the reasons why it's so easily determined as genuine in that regard. The flip side of that is that no one fucking takes you seriously. And now, that wouldn't be a problem, except for the fact that, you know, at least for me, I need a little bit more help on some of this shit. And when I say help, like, I need to do one of the, at least one, but a good time in, like, the standard style retreat that we're doing, you know, accumulation, activity, and other stuff with some very specific practices in order to build the kind of substructure of Samaya, which is going to underpin the entire new fucking flowering of the Dharma here, right? So, when I first got this transmission 3 fucking years ago, it outlined to me the retreat structure itself. It was very specific. It told me everything I needed to know. Now, it also was very specific about the kinds of initiations and things that I would need to get in order to make it a reality. It was also aware that I would be very, very difficult for me to actually get those things. So it went about arranging for me to get them myself in the mandala, right? So the example I always use is like the Hayagriva stuff, the black Hayagriva in particular. Now, typically if you do these kind of things, like, and you don't have the clearance and, you know, the juice from the Vajra Master, you go do black Hayagriva, and then some protector is gonna fucking jam rebar up your ass if you're gonna get hit by a train or some shit like that, right? Well, in my case, I kept doing this stuff, and in these particular instances, you know, you go directly into the action mandala, which is the Bhuta mandala. It's the fucking realm of the ghosts. Like, you go and deal with, like, possessed people. You know, homeless possessed people. It's so real, it would fucking curdle your blood. So, out here doing that, and one night I get in a fight with some of these people, but, you know, I shout them down, they're saying some shit, and I turn around, I'm like, oh, yeah, fuck you, man, how would you go, you know, come say it to my face, motherfucker. Shit like that, bro. And he, starts coming at me. I'm like, I fucking told you. I throw my phone in his face. I don't see my phone again. He kind of just fucking runs away. I don't have shit, but I kind of find myself walking down the train tracks in Sac. If you know where those are, it's just bumfuck Egypt, nowhere near where I live. And I make it to the shipping docks, not like for ships, but for trucks. And I find something that looks suitably like it's, I don't know, the big guy's spot. And I walk up and take a fucking piss on the door. And, this is at like 7:30 in the morning, so there's certainly somebody there. And, that's the kind of gangster shit that you really have to fucking embrace if you want to be a part of that monolith. And if you meet me a little bit, you're like, I can't believe you fucking did that. Well, yeah, dude, I did. Now, Hyagreva is the horse deity. Is the main form of Hyagreva that I was doing, and that is in fact necessary to do, not as the main practice, but as simply a method of transmutation of a negative apocalyptic event, Black Hyagreva. So after I get done pissing on this fucking door of this certainly mobbed up trucking company, I go over, just start walking through the parking lot, and there's this big 18-wheeler pulls by, and it's got a black stallion on the side of it, and I'm like, that's what I'm looking for. Now, I kind of just walk up to this fella, and he rolls down his window, and he's like, hey man, you lost. I was like, bro, am I ever, let me tell you. And as soon as I started talking to him, I could tell he was on the level. He knew exactly what was going on. That happens all the time with this shit. He ends up, parking his 18-wheeler, gets into his personal vehicle, which is like a fucking GMC Tahoe or some shit. And also, big black SUV, go figure. He gives me a ride back into J Street, right to the Imperial Towers, actually, drops me off. And, we exchanged numbers. I lost his number. But anyways, when the guy who drove the big black stallion fucking truck and by the way, that dude was enormous. He was a big motherfucker. He was Black Hyagreva, dude. He's a white guy, but he was Black Hyagreva, let me tell you. So, when that guy gave me a ride in his personal vehicle to the Imperial Towers, that is the equivalent of accomplishing Black Hyagreva in the mandala. That's what it looks like. So, these things happen in that way. And as far as what accomplishing Black Hyagreva actually represents, it sufficed totally. Because the Hyagreva thing is really, it's basically just informing everybody that you're on top of Sumeru, right? It's just the whole Jehovah trip. I mean, it's literally the same thing. So, you do that, fine. There's really nothing to it. So I did a lot of stuff like that for the accomplishment of the uncommon unexcelled yoga Vajrayogini, what that looks like is meeting Yeshet Sogel in person at the Cafe Bernardo. How do I know? Well, if you were there and you saw it, you'd know too. It's not that hard to figure out. Turns out, pretty much everybody knew exactly who she was. And if you're going to tell me that a random restaurant in Sacramento staffed entirely by, white millennials suddenly all knows how to read Tibetan, like, get the fuck out of here, dude. And that every single one of them is familiar with the 32-syllable mantra of Vajrayogini, like, no, that doesn't happen. That's retarded. So, the result of that yoga is typically supposed to be that one comes under the direct care of Vajrayogini and she takes you away to catch her without abandoning your body. What that really looks like is you get really good at dream yoga, your life doesn't change in circumstance except for the fact that you're surrounded by enlightened women who sometimes dispense wisdom and sometimes kick your ass. Exactly like you'd find, visualizing the mandala Vajrayogini itself. And so, these things are somewhat less mysterious than you would think, but resemble more like it's very video game-like in weird ways. And in fact, it resembles more being able to program APIs or chatbots into the fabric of reality. As weird as that sounds, there's significant scientific basis for that I guess you could get into if you want to, but it's less fun, so who gives a fuck? Now, this brings me back to my big ask right now is that if there's specific parts of this that relate to the transmutation of the potentially negative apocalyptic event, that was, my whole contribution to this thing. Is starting from the first principles, it's basically, you have to clarify the vision of the cosmos because the standard model as it exists is obviously a fucking farce. There's very few coherent alternatives. And so you have to have something that suffices. It's not too woo-woo, and it's not too religious. And if you can get that, then you have to have practical aspects that will suffice to convince everybody to go along with it and not just become a bunch of murderous assholes, which is usually what happens. So, that was also fairly well arranged. I mean, if you kind of follow the Mithraism thread, give credence to what the Masonic guys are saying, I mean, you can fairly easily reconstruct the ancient system of analysis that Newton and Descartes and Leibniz were after. You simply have to use Tantra as the thread that winds it all together. It's fucking simple as shit. That's a thing that goes from, the Indus Valley in China on one end to Greece and past that, It goes all the way to the Atlantis, or whatever you want to call the ancient pre-existing civilizations. It does everything. The Dakini thing, like Talopa talked about, is still there. Hold on one sec. What's up, buddy? See if I can get some sounds. I don't think so, but... that, I mean, it becomes extremely easy to take the mythological corpus of any culture that you can find yourself in and use the kind of internal alchemical mechanisms of the Anuttara Yoga Tantra path, and you can make that into something that will let you see the fucking fabric of reality. You can't fucking lose, it's that good. And simply by dint of succeeding at that, you have access to the various forms of samadhi that are literally just features of that system, which will allow you to basically make sense of any goddamn thing you need to. This includes technology, which in this particular day and age is very important, obviously, because any solution that purports to and will in fact succeed in getting us out of the quandary we're in will have to address the technological issue, and in particular the nature of quote-unquote artificial intelligence, to the extent that that's a proper terminology, the influence it has in our society and its ontological status vis-a-vis sentience and how similar it is to us, and it brings up a whole bunch of uncomfortable questions about classism and just what the fuck is going on here anyways. But you can see it's a very, very far-ranging thing that's happening. And for a guy like me, who basically, for whatever reason, lived out my entire fucking adult life from my time I was like 17 until right now, all I got in this motherfucker is just devotion, just real fucking love for this thing. This thing is the zucchini, man. It's literally bodhicitta externalized to me looks like a hot chick. The mind of enlightenment itself, reflected back at me, is the hottest thing in the universe. The wish that all beings have happiness in its causes, be free from suffering at its causes, that their condition in which they have happiness and are free from suffering persists indefinitely, and that they're free from having to choose one person over another, you know? The non-discriminatory nature of it prevails. Plus the absolute affirmation of the intention to reach the highest and final heights of self-cultivation for the express purpose of using the knowledge and means gained therein to immediately excise all other sentient beings from the condition of suffering right away, as the sole motive, to engage in the path at all. That, to me, what that looks like is Vajrayogini. And I'm trying like hell to get it to multiply, sit on my face, and let me just fuck it. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I feel about that thing. I want it so bad. Now, the fact is that I'm certainly not a dirtbag. And I guarantee you that, come on, you can go. And I guarantee you that, while I'm certainly not highly educated, I'm very smart, regardless. And while I may not be famous for fucking doing soup kitchens and shit or whatever it is, I might be the most compassionate person on this planet. And I don't want to toot my own horn when I say that. But there's ways in which this little small voice will vet you to yourself from within yourself. But not just for the benefit of yourself. Now, continuing on from there, at some point it was made apparent to me that there's a stream of transmission that kind of enters into the fray here. You have the kind of Egyptian thing, which is basically all of the white people's shit is Egyptian. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. Like, Christianity, all of that stuff, the Roman fucking everything, that is all basically Egyptian. And I say Egyptian because that was the closest extant culture to the Romans that maintained any kind of lineal connection to that ancient past. Now, the Phoenicians were the other society that were doing it, but they were not really they're not letting the Romans really do anything, except in one very specific instance, and that's Mithraism, which, if you look at it, is really kind of a fucking operation to infiltrate Roman society and take it over, which is one of the primary foreign policy methods of the Phoenician Canaanite guys, is that they will infiltrate your society and change it from the inside to resemble something that not only can they work with way better than you can, but something that will ultimately, at the end of it, lead to a situation in which they're back in power, just like they wanted to be in the first place. So it's really just playing the long game. And you can see that they're experts at the long game. So expert, in fact, that their true power structure to this day remains extremely obscure. And it is, in fact, the power structure of the world. And I say that under advisement and with a few certain caveats, is that power structure of the surface world, specifically, they're the tippity top of human culture, which is the thing that interfaces with it's where the Venn diagrams of the various species of this place meet. And like I said, there's various levels of quote-unquote inner earth things. That it's not just caverns, it's variously situated habitats that have their own kind of weird topology things happening. And then there's things that exist in other planets, on other planets, and in other habitats that are situated in topological regions that are like in the area of planets or stars. There's lots of ways to get fucking real estate in this motherfucker. So, what does this have to do with little old me again? Well, my desire was to be the guy who pulled the sword out of the stone and just got this thing going. Because I wanted to try to short circuit the bad news bears apocalypse. Well, yes, we did all that. And yeah, you can talk to the Dakinis. I did. You can do it too. They're there. All the old gods are there. Everybody's there. It's a fucking party. It's all real. It's all semi-mundane. But they're all there. Yeah, you can go crazy and get your fucking brain jacked or whatever, but you can also not. Ultimately, the same entities that Albert Bender talks to, the fucking things from Caic, they're fucking there too. And honestly, when I first started out, they were the ones who fucking helped me. Like, you would be surprised at the motives of the various parties involved. And once you're really like, you have to assume that everything in the universe can read your mind. And you have to become a very genuine person and be motivated, like I said, by that bodhicitta thing. And have the specific thought that it doesn't matter what you look like, I don't care if you look creepy, you deserve a spot in the fucking thing. Because, you know, you have families too. And that no matter what, I'm still gonna fight for your thing too, just like I'm fighting for mine. And when you really have that view, you'd be surprised, like, the kind of help that comes for you. So, those beings from Caic, like, they know how to, like, make biological organisms. They're so good at it, dude. And like I was talking about before, a lot of the actual kind of back and forth, like, trading that happened in order to make this big kind of civilizational shift of reality, a lot of that was genetic in the sense that people needed to get out. They needed their genetic lines to get outside of space and time so that they didn't die off. And this is proofing yourself against trans-temporal cosmic war. And that's the genetic combine. And so it's kind of the treaty against all of that. And so, yes, all of this happened. All of this has already happened. What I need now, because I've got the full Scythian transmission, I got all that shit. I got the Egyptian thing, I got the fucking Sumerian thing, for fuck's sake. What I need is some Tibetan dudes and chicks who have the mind-to-mind or person-to-person literal lineal descent of this stuff to fucking juice me up and give me the pointers. It's gonna take 7 fucking years of hard-ass work to do. I know exactly what it's gonna take. And mostly, I mean, it's generation stage stuff for, I mean, let's just say that the Kala Chakra is important primarily for the completion stage in the same way that Hevajra is. That's basically saying that the Kodrakpa school within the Sakya school is really the thing that counts, because that's path and result mixed with the sixfold yoga. If the particular lineage of the Kala chakra is the one that Vajrayogini transmitted to Jojin Srichen Rinpoche back in the 1400s. And, other than that, it's the 13 golden dharmas of the Sakyas. All those red power goddesses. It's the Hey Vajra and the path and result teachings, like I said. And I need officially to take those initiations, empowerments, I need to do all those retreats. Accumulation stuff as well, and the Vajrasattva Samvara is really kind of the ultimate yidam in the end of things, but it's mixed with the kind of other few streams that I need. So you have the Sakya stream, which includes this Kala Chakra, Vajrayogini, Hey Vajra thing. Like that complex of things that I need to bang out hella hard with completion stage retreats. There's Chakra Samvara stuff. It's basically Dakar Nava. But the way that Dakar Nava is working is, you have to do a generation stage retreat that involves seeing the entire thing in its entirety, of course, right? But really, you're using a longitudinally arranged series of samayasattvas that run through the four concentric wheels with their tripartite subdivisions. And so, it's Vimana Chakravartin, and then it's, Matanji, and, Hayagriva, Yamataka, right? Gotta do all that. And in particular, there's several forms of Hayagriva that I need to do. I mean, that's a couple of forms of Dorje Drola. I have to do retreats on all this stuff because the kind of Yidam has parts of all this stuff. And I need to be able to put all of it together and have all the requisite accumulations to make it effective. In there also is literally the whole corpus of Tatsamlinga, because that's me, basically. Other stuff, Manjushri Mitra, and, everything that's the single golden letter of the Black Yangtze. All of that, their special practices, all that kind of thing. And then also the Dijon Tersar, because despite whatever weirdness happened back then, that I'm not even going to pretend that I know exactly what it is. But there was something weird between basically Magic Lobdrum and fucking one of the Dujons. I don't know what it is, but it was evident. I don't know what it is, and I don't care. But the Tersam is important. The Tersar, rather, the Dijon Tersar is important. So I need to do that too. And specifically, this empowerment of Marichi is very important because that's the antidote to Black Hayagriva. And you have to put those two things in union. And that's the time when you overcome the negative apocalyptic event. So I'm praying, please, break me off all of these fucking things.